Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host for the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys not just a new moving background, I hope you guys like it, but a new chapter of Akatsuki no Yona, also known as, and sing it with me, everyone, Yona of the Dawn! Yona of the Dawn, chapter 220, and this is an excellent goddamn chapter. This is the chapter... This is just a great chapter. All right, so let's just say it. 2022, starting off Yona pretty damn solid. Let's just, because there are reasons to like this chapter, and then there is the reason to love this chapter. Like, there's reasons to like it. It's a solid chapter all the way through. But to love this chapter, there is one core reason, and you love to see it. You love to see it. And we'll get to that. But this chapter has, I consider, 3 parts. And part 1 and 3 sort of are a continuation of each other, in a way. But basically, the chapter starts off at the end of the last chapter. We're not jumping back to Hawk or anything. We're in the middle of the battlefield. Remember, Kija and jae-ha, they're going forward to destroy the catapults. Now, we are informed later that there's like 6 catapults. So they have half a dozen catapults, and jae-ha only managed to destroy 1, and that's at the end of the day, getting himself into these lines. We learn it's like, well, wait a minute, why is it just them? They're fighting an army. What's going on? There's an entire army here. At the beginning of the chapter, we get Yona on horseback, seemingly calm, but saying, can't we help the people that are being held captive? And what about the people that Kija and jae-ha have already saved that are on the middle of the battlefield? They're hurt and injured. They can't crawl back. But remember, from the last chapter, they grabbed them. Kija was like, and jae-ha was like, and they saved them, right? They were like, all right, I got you. You're fine. Get you down to the ground. Shit, more incoming, right? So that was all happening. And so there's multiple captives laying on the ground in the middle of the battlefield, right? Right in no man's land. And then we have more people behind enemy lines that are being fling, fling, fling. And it's absolutely disgusting tactics, right? Once again, not sure if Soo-won's father actually did it because the flashback never freaking told us it did. Yeah, anyways, point of the matter is that, so... Yona asks calmly. She's not right away concerned about the dragons, but of course she is, but she basically says, listen, they're there to help the injured people, right? And that has been Yona's journey. Yona's journey began as just a survive, right? It was a survivalist journey. Then it turned into helping the people at all costs, and sacrificing the one for the many was not in her ideas. Now, this is an argument of ideals here. And what is the difference between just reality and naivety, right? Or naivete. But honestly, from a hero's journey perspective, which is very classic in literature, we want everybody to be saved. Now, in Yona, which is really good, they show that not everybody can be helped and not everybody can be saved. And sometimes you've got to go to war, and sometimes you have to kill people, and sometimes there are not nice things that happen. Sometimes you have to play the politics. Sometimes you have to do this, that, and the other thing. And sometimes you have to sacrifice things close to you for the greater good of the others, right? So, but the good thing is that Yona has not lost that throughout her journey. And we're seeing that right now. She's standing beside Su-won on horseback, and she's arguing with them in a way and saying, I know we're at war. I know this, that, and the other thing. But should we not be trying every possible avenue to be helping our own citizens, the captured prisoners, the people being flung? These are people we can potentially save. Can we not do anything about it? Basically, not telling him what to do and saying that you have to save them, saying, use your crazy good brain, and because Su-won is tactful in that way, is there any solution you can think of where we can provide aid? Even if it doesn't work, is there any way? I'm not saying sacrifice the battle. I'm not saying sacrifice the war. I'm saying, can you help our people? I'm just asking you to consider it and not, forget about it, right? Not worth his consideration. And I would argue Su-won wouldn't consider it for even a nanosecond if Yona wasn't there to basically throw it in his face. Now this is where Soo-won, backfires and says, isn't that what your dragons are doing? She's like, yeah, and they're killing themselves because you won't advance your troops to go help them. Can you provide them some backup? He's like, yeah, no. Said, if we do that, our chances of victory, they go slim and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, no, we can't really do that. And I had hoped, there was he's basically talking about leashing the dragons in a way. Like, I had hoped they'd shown some restraint. I hoped that they would refrain from acting out by their own devices. And it's like, they're only here for Hawk, right? They are not interested in following anybody's command. But anyways, and they're trying to be the better at the sacrifice, as we see Kija and jae-ha later, and before this, they are taking damage and on their own self. They're taking the hurt because they know that the right thing to do is try to save those people. So, and then of course Yona argues back, and it's like, if the people are, but the people it's our people. They're being treated so cruelly and stuff. And this is where Soo-won remarks that Yona has the same ideology as her father, and this is war. I shouldn't have brought you here. And it's this cold, callous Soo-won is back. And it's just like, yeah, well, there's a difference between being strategic and tactful. And, there are many synonyms. But being cruel and callous in war, I would argue, is unnecessary. In a sense. At this junction, he is not willing to consider trying to formulate a plan or a solution that benefits. Even if it's got a bad percentage chance, he won't even try, and that's the flaw. He's got this very tunnel, black and white vision and mentality of war, this is war, and this is how war goes. And victory is a chessboard. Sacrifice all the pawns to win the game. And it's very unhumanitarian, which you could argue that war is not a humanitarian effort, which fair enough. I'm just saying that Yona is trying to balance this out and trying to just make him think about it, There's more than one way, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so as the saying goes. There's more than one way to win a war, too. And so, anyways, that's when we go on to the second part of the chapter, right? And this part I'll be able to cover fairly quickly because I've already talked about it. Jae-ha and Kija trying to go forth and destroy the catapult. They're basically rushing in by themselves, taking the hits and all that stuff. Kija ends up taking an arrow to his dragon claw, and of course they're right on the border, so they're going to take some. They're weaker. They're going to take heavier hits. Because I was going to argue at one point that I didn't like, but this is showcasing once again. We're not forgetting the weakness, except for Zeno, I believe. Except for Zeno, and we've seen his level of weakness. How this goes. Kija is taking heavier hits by simple arrows, because it actually sticks in his dragon claw and he's bleeding. Their stamina is weaker and that kind of stuff. And Kija said, don't worry about me, jae-ha, go and destroy that catapult. And he actually manages to do it. He slams down, destroys one of the catapults. This is fantastic. Now the big boss general man is all like, pretty boy, I want to smack that face and I'm going to kick you in the face. I can't wait to, carve you up. And then we get jae-ha basically saying, yeah, I just came back here in enemy lines to kick your ass too, by the way. So there's some backed up, there's some smacked up. Of course, we love our man, jae-ha. We love our green dragon, right? This is where, of course, after being able to battle and being like, multiple guys, because this general is a bit of a coward. He's having other people fight for him. He's not even willing to fight evenly against one of the dragons, which it wouldn't even be even, because he's behind enemy lines, surrounded by enemy troops, and he's already injured and tired, and this guy is a bitch. So anybody who thought, now I know there's not a whole lot of power scalers when it comes to the Yona fan base, this is most likely a good thing. But for those of you who do like to power scale your shoujo manga, this guy is no match for any of them at full strength. He is not a match for Hawk. He is not a match for jae-ha. He is dirt no, who else can beat Zeno? So this dude, I will give him credit where credit is due. The fact that he resisted Sinha, I'm going to give you 2 reasons as to why. Number 1, I'll give you the plus if you like this character. But I'm not saying you need to be honored, you can't be strong if you're not honorable. I'm saying that this dude, if he was as strong as Hawk, or if he could actually defeat jae-ha straight up, he would not have sent his lackeys to do it. Know what I'm saying? So, there's too much pride, there's too much arrogance in being a powerful general. We see that throughout history, in reality, in manga, in fiction, and in this story. So, yeah, this guy, nah. They're peeking up all these generals. It's like there's 7, there's 12 of them. It's like, yeah, none of them holding the candle at this point. Sorry, if this is the level we're talking about. Now, let's get to the Sinha theory. I got this little theory, and I'm sure some of you already figured this out, but it took me a while. It took me 2 reads to sort of go, because originally I didn't like the fact that Sinha comes in behind, wrecks everybody's shit with his eyes, of course, mask off, boom, knocks out most of the troops, right? Conquers, hockeys his way through the troops. Now, it does affect the general, but he's still on his feet, or, what have you. His heart's beating fast, and he's got an adrenaline. He's like, what the, stop shaking, but he's not succumbing and crumbling down. So I'll give you the point if you want to give this point to his mental strength, fortitude, what have you, right? He is a general. He's supposed to be a threat. Fine dandy. I'm going to go on my theory number 2. Because remember when I brought up the fact that Kija and jae-ha noticed, and it was a significant point, that a normal arrow, by the looks of it, managed to get through the dragon scales of a fully clawed out Kija arm. They're on the border, right? They're actually right there on the border. They're as far away from Hiryu Castle as they can be without crossing past their own territory. And they are going to get significantly weaker the more steps they walk further in. Now, I had a problem with this initially, that Sinha went down right after this. Right? Not only did he not knock out the general, which you could argue, once again, point number 1, his mental fortitude, strength, etc., but the fact that just doing one little bit of Conqueror's Hockey knocked him straight out. Because I can argue, no, he can usually keep going a little longer than that. He doesn't go all rigid after used it once, boom, right on the floor. That's not how we've seen it in the past. However, once again, just like Kija's hand is weak, I would argue right here that Sinha's abilities and the recoil, his stamina is weakened, right? Just like the rest of the dragons. So that is part and parcel. You can give a point to the mental strength of this general if you like. I'm okay with that. But I would argue that were this dude standing outside the steps of, Hiryu Castle, and Sinha looked at him and boom, that dude would be cowering like a baby. I would argue that point, and it wouldn't take Sinha out to do it in 5 seconds. I think the fact that the dragon's powers are significantly weaker, I won't put a number on it, but I would argue the term significant is a factor at the border, and this goes to show us that Sinha, also the recoil comes much faster and much harder, and it's not as potent or effective in the same way that Kija's strength and jae-ha's strength is weakened and their stamina goes down and they can get hurt even with their dragon scales in this regard. Now, of course, they show up and it's like, okay, holy shit, and then the general guy manages to still, he's still standing up and he's still like, oh, well, I will manage to, I will still claim victory. You're one of the dragons too. He's like, that trick might have faltered me and felt like my heart was being crushed for a moment, but I'm back. And hilariously, not hilariously, that's not the word. Though they aren't truly concerned about Zeno, it is nice to see they still don't want to see him hurt. Remember the fire? Yeah. So they have this compassion and this whole, just because this guy is about to get his shit wrecked by Ultimate Fighter, Zeno, does not mean that they want to see him stabbed and cut up and burnt and his head lopped off and any of this stuff. They don't want to see him hurt. They don't want to see him bleed, you know? So Shinha's pissed, jae-ha's pissed, and then Zeno just looks down as Buddy gives off this stupid speech, and he just says, last breath, you won't be finished. You can't do that even if you're old and gray. You would just... Zeno has 0, and I'm just like, this man, Zeno's my favorite dragon, then it goes jae-ha, but yeah, Zeno's my second favorite character in the series, so definitely love my boy Zeno, and I love the fact that he's just so, it's like, alright, I don't usually like to do this, been a while, just stretch out, stab, oh, that's not gonna work, pulling off his Wolverine shit, so I love it. It's fantastic. It's absolutely greatness, right? Then comes the reason to love. These are all great reasons to like the chapter. As I said, initially I was pissed. I was like, Shinha shouldn't be able to go down that quickly. And I said, and this guy shouldn't be able to resist that well. I'm like, nah, I don't really care for that too much. I was like, that's a little bit of inconsistency. And then I remembered they were on the border in my second read-through. And we actually saw the reaction shot of Kija being hurt. So I'm like, yeah, okay, this is actually making a lot more sense. The only one unaffected by that is, of course, Zeno. So, to a significant degree in that regard. So, then we move on to the final part of the chapter and the reason to love it. L-O-V-E. The thing that everyone should be in before you say I do in a marriage. Not that that ever happens for some reason. Don't know why. No, I shouldn't say it never happens, but you know what I'm getting at. Anyway, trying to make a joke. Fell flat. Anyways, so final part, we get into this, right? And we're back on not the front lines, but we're back with Su-won, Kisok, Yona, and them, right? Now, this is where we're getting a report about the second and third rows are advancing. They're engages, they're managed to destroy one catapult and stuff like that, but we see that they've been engaging and stuff like that. And now this is where we have that one front line that they're advancing, but of course there's all the other flanks going on right now. And Yona asks, the messenger and says, the captives and the people that were rescued by Kija and jae-ha, how are they? And they're just like, well, they're still all on the battlefield. Like, we don't have the resources to pick them up and bring them back and try to help save lives, right? Save lives, like Marineford style. And, they'll soon be crushed by the enemy cavalry once the cavalry advances, and they'll be just basically stomped to death. It'll be Mufasa in the gorge. And it'll be all the citizens that are potentially still alive. Most of them seemingly are. And so, now this is where the messenger keeps going on and says, we'll need to get some medics and stuff like that. Or I believe Yona's talking about getting the medics and such like that. And this is where Su-won is just ignoring all that and just saying, advance. Rows 2 and 3 must advance. I'm not listening to this. Basically, he's turning his ears off. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we hear, I have chosen. I have decided. And we see Gwentai, the general of the Earth tribe, possibly one of the best characters, one of the best generals, clearly. You got Mundok, and then you got this guy. And he goes, and he bows before Princess Yona, and says, please allow me to be of service. And says, I have given away the command of my army. It's like, wait, what? And I'm going to fight alongside the people of Awa, who are, remember, they are here, even though we still don't forgive Fat Boy back there. We still don't forgive Fat Boy. But the people of Awa, he's going to fight alongside them, who listen to Su-won? No. Kisa? They listen to the red-haired princess. They listen to Yona. And they're just like, yeah, we'll go. The people of Awa, the pirates, they're like, yeah, we'll rescue. We're going to go rescue the people on the battlefield. We don't mind. And Gwentai's like, yeah, I'm going to go too. Those are my citizens. Those are my tribesmen. And Yona's just like, yeah, like, you guys, you're all here. And I think she's surprised to see them because I don't think she knew that they were here. And now she does, because they were like, yeah, we were just fighting with Hawk like yesterday. This is crazy. And this is where Gwentai goes on this beautiful speech. And he just says, like, the kingdom is indebted to the Thunder Beast, indebted to Yona. You know, like, it's not just in the Kin province, it's not just my tribe, it's Awa, it's all these places, the Fire tribe, everything, you know. And now, the people that are on the battlefield right now, the captives that the dragons have saved, alongside the people that we might still be able to save as the catapults are being destroyed, those are my people. And you trouble yourself and care not about how the battle sways for victory, but how many lives you can save. And you care so much about the fate of my people, of my comrades, of my soldiers. And he just says the words, like, I'm speechless with undying gratitude for these words. And he just says, so please leave this to me. And Su-won has not said shit so far. I mean, what is he going to say? No, you can't do that? Who's going to stop him? He tells him, and he acknowledges him. He goes, Your Majesty. Still acknowledging that. But I like that he's still calling her Princess Yona. And then says, so, once this is done, I will resign my place as a general after this battle. Boom. Once again, remember what I said before about the fact that the Earth Tribe has a serious problem with its, like, military? Might be powerful, but because of this dude, without a guy of this level or Hawk strength, there ain't nobody to take over when it comes to the Earth Tribe. So, will he actually be down and out? I doubt it, because who are they going to find in the interim? Maybe a puppet of Kisok's or somebody like that. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to fly. But the fact that he's willing to give it up, he's like, I give up my commission, I'm giving up my title, I'm giving up my status as one of the 5 generals, all this stuff. I'm giving this all up. But I am now a useless, and the humbleness is like, I can't even wield a blade anymore. So he doesn't believe in his own recovery right now. He's not believing that he'll ever, like, be able to actually fight properly anymore. But he still thinks he's able-bodied enough to be on the battlefield. So I think he's just more trying to be more humble about it, but I'm not really sure. It could be a translation thing, because he says I'm a useless piece of meat. You know, like I'm just a body now. I'm not special. I'm not powerful. I'm not strong anymore. You know, whatever's been done to my back, I will never swing a blade properly again. My form's screwed. My back's broken. Whatever. And he says, however, that is irrelevant. I wish to fight for my people, and that's what I'm going to do. So I will not get in the way of your battle, and I beg you to see this through. So it's just like, wait a minute. So he not only bowed down to Yona, acknowledging her 100%. So now they have literally turned everybody but the Sky Tribe. And half the Sky Tribe listens to the Thunder Beast. They've turned the Water Tribe, basically. The Fire Tribe would sooner fight for Yona than Su-won. The Wind Tribe, I mean, that was never in the question. They were going to go to war at the beginning of the series. And now the Earth Tribe will not move against, or at least the one who held the Earth Tribe together, will not move against our little miss. This is fantastic. I did not see this coming. Did anybody see this coming where Gwentai? I did not see this coming where he was just going to openly acknowledge in front of Kisok, in front of Su-won, I'm following Yona. Yona is the one who cares about my people. She's the one I'm indebted to. So I know that's going to piss you off. So if that's a problem, I resign as a general, because I'm doing what she says from now. And I'm just like, you know, this is fantastic. Kisok even acknowledges that maybe they shouldn't have talked about this strategy in front of Gwentai when Gwentai was there. Maybe Su-won should not have been so cold to Cals. They shouldn't have discussed this meeting while he was within earshot at all. But then he says, no, you know what? He probably already made up his mind, because the general, better than anybody, he's one of their frontline generals, one of their frontline fighters. He understands the rules of war better than anybody. But the level of compassion and soft-heartedness that Yona and the Thunder Beast, you know, they're not callous enough, they're not cruel enough, they're not hard enough to be rulers. However, that is what saved the general's life. He knows it. He knows why Yona and Hawk have won over all the people. You know, saving Lily back in the day, why the Wind Tribe is the way they are, why the Fire Tribe is the way they are. He has seen this. He knows why the people of Awa fight for Yona and not Su-won. The general knows all this. He knows the details, and he knows it's because King Ill's ideals can be put into practice properly. He went too far, right? King Ill was too soft. But we have the hardness of Hawk and Yona that people are failing to see because they're comparing it to a literal rock. They're comparing it to a stone that's unbreakable in the face of Su-won and his father. You know, but they're treating it like Hawk and Yona are just a liquid. Like they've got nothing there to sustain them whatsoever, you know? And that's not really, and Ki-sok is seeing that very black and white. I think it's a perfect mixture, you know? I don't think they're as loose as water or milk or anything like that. I think they're thick like molasses. They're not a hard stone, you know what I mean? But they're strong. They're firm. They're not so weak as they're being shown. And here we see Ki-sok even acknowledge, and the fact that we all know him, we weren't able to hide this fact. And it leads to my belief, Ki-sok has been more understandable. At least I find this arc. That has been one solid thing that came from this arc, if nothing else. But still here, I would argue that he would have tried his best to hide all these facts. They wouldn't have had this conversation in front of Gwentai. They would not have informed him that Hawk was the one who saved everybody and was the one holding the line and saved the general and all this stuff if they could have helped it. They would have kept this information, of course, you know, all these things. They would have tried their best, right? But the fact of the matter is, Gwentai knows all this. He knows the Thunder Piece and now has sacrificed himself again. Yona has done her part, but Hawk literally got washed away in the flood defending his home, defending his people. It's moved him. He can no longer deny that Yona and Hawk are the saviors of his own people. But the fact, and he still finds it baffling, even with all that, it's still a shock that he's willing to face forward and defy Su-won right to his face and say, I'm going with Yona. You know, it's not an outright, we declare, you know, Su-won, like, he's just saying, I'm not going to follow your orders anymore, and I appreciate what Yona and Hawk have done for me in a way. He's not saying, I'm going to fight for them from here on out, because as he puts it, he'll never hold a blade again. Now, maybe he's just being over dramatic, who knows, but there's just a lot here in this chapter. This review must be 45 minutes long. Holy crap. I feel like I've been talking non-stop, well, hence a review, hence a video. But, yeah, so the problem I have, there's a big red flag at the very end. This is a fantastic chapter. I got no issue other than this big red flag, which I hope turns into a red herring, is paying the greatest of respects to Princess Yona. General Gwentai rode towards his last battlefield. Now, that's the end of the chapter. I want to say one quick note before we end the review on this note, is that does not mean, because that's a big red death flag, right? That's a big X, it's a big skull, crossbones, the whole bit, right? Not necessarily. He was the one who said, I'm not good at, I won't hold a blade anymore, that kind of stuff. Maybe the injuries and the poison he suffered, maybe he will never ride to war ever again. It does not mean Gwentai is going to die. And with the new baby and stuff like that, I know this is war, and we can do some serious shit with Yona like that. I don't want Gwentai to die. I'm good with him being out of the battlefield, right? I'm good with him having to resign his post as general and everything like that, but I hope that this line is not the death flag that it appears first and foremost in our minds. I'm hoping this is just the last time he ever appears on a battlefield, because he can't fight anymore. But not because he dies. I don't need that. I don't want that heartache in my life. So, yeah. That's the end of the chapter, end of the review. I know this was a long one, guys and gals, but there was a lot. I would argue there was so much to talk about. So even if this is a half hour, 40-minute long review at the end of the day, at the end of that day, I'm just going to say that I needed to cover all those points. I think everything I've said up to here needed to be acknowledged over and over and over again, because I know I repeat myself. I'm not oblivious to that. I know I repeat myself many, many times, saying the same point 5 or 6 times, as for some reason. It's just the way I do things. But at the end of the day, I love this chapter. I know you, my viewers and the community, you love this chapter. How could you not love this chapter? I've seen no Gwentai hate. And Zeno is on the battlefield, so nobody's hurting Yona. That's just a fact. And I hope this general gets his sweet ass kicked. And, yeah. So, what do you guys think? What do you think's going to happen in chapter 221? Because this chapter threw me for a loop with the Gwentai stuff, so I have zero idea. Are we jumping back to Hawk? I feel like this is the opportunity to jump back to Hawk right now. But 221, coming out the first week of March. I got no idea where this is going. I got no idea or very little predictions for what can go down, because this one threw me for a loop. So who knows what's going to happen next chapter? If you have a theory, let me know down in the comment section down below. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe, as I always ask of you, and I always appreciate. And don't forget to drink responsibly. Like, for once I'm actually doing water. Drink your water. Stay hydrated, ladies and gentlemen. And we will see you guys back here next time for the next chapter of Yona of the Dawn. Yona of the Dawn. We will see you guys back here next time. Bye-bye.